Hello, hello! Welcome to the next episode of Paranormasighт, the Curse of the Mermaid, the Mermaid's Curse. Anna Barnum, the fourth protagonist of the story. I have no clue how to voice act him, but yeah. He seems like a very weird guy. On the other side, we will hear his inner thoughts, and maybe he will be a completely different character now. And we can choose between this one and this one. But I think we should go with the first option. The recollection of something. Discovering the mermaids of Isabey. This was something different, right? Futa Mega Ura. Yeah, but not Isabey. Okay. Discovering the mermaids of Isabey. Arnav Barnum. Arnav Barnum, a cheerful fantasy author, sets off on a trip to visit the mermaid legends of Isabey with his relative Circe Lunarlight as his guide. Date unknown. Kawagi Town, Nakabeppo coast. After much hustle and bustle, we finally managed to make our way to Isabey. Nice. Nice, great job. Take it all in now. We're standing on the coast of Nakabeppo in Mie Prefecture's Kawagi Town. Which means this is the Sea of Ise, the connection to the eternal world. How amazing. Indeed it is. Come, sirs. Henceforth begins our grand adventure in search of the legendary mermaids of Isabey. How amazing. I just can't stop saying it. Without further ado, my name is Arnav Barnum, an American-born fantasy author. Please call me Avi. Who are you introducing yourself to, weirdo? Sausage. Oh, well, I simply thought a new beginning called for a little dramatic flair, you know. Sure. With that out of the way, perhaps my darling guide can provide some insight to the goings-on of this local. Sure, I've got you covered. Ooh, new music. It's the kind of same music like the story chart, but also different. You know, I kind of see myself in Avi, in Arvum. I think I'm the same with making everything more dramatic than it has to be. We've come all this way to a distant foreign land seeking mermaids. Of course, I have my own reasons for trying to locate the mythical creatures. But for now, I intend to scour this land in order to learn as much as I can about its lore and legends. But it occurs to me that I never actually explained the particulars of my Isabey mermaid excursion to the girl. No matter, it's nothing of consequence really, so I will just introduce my reasons a bit at a time. Oh, Arnav Barnum, male author, occult journalist, 40 years old. Nickname Avi, a fantasy author and occult journalist whose books are published in both America and England, but they apparently don't sell well, unmarried. Notable works include The Fiend of Ringet and The Solar Crow, Hermod's Travels, and The Bon Appetit, The Phantom Gourmand series. Although a grown man, he still has a certain naive boyishness to him, most evident in his passion for romantic tales and an appetite for chasing his dreams. However, this also comes with an equivalent amount of immaturity, making him somewhat troublesome to deal with. He believes that most any circumstance he finds himself in will sort itself out, an optimistic creed that often sees him casually throwing himself into difficult situations and remains impressively unbothered, even on those occasions he does find himself in trouble, often managing to slip out of danger with nary a dent in his usual carefree attitude. That he's made it this far unscathed is largely owed to sheer luck, although he remains blissfully unaware of this. Okay. He currently in Japan seeking mermaid flesh, which is believed to grant immortality. His reason is simple. A fascination with the occult, a pursuit he feels is worthy of devoting his entire life to. Indeed, he is primarily driven by his pursuit of romantic ideals. If he finds something suitably inspiring, he will readily risk his life for it, and is willing to change his views just as quickly for the same, as if I would be chasing for something in England. Avi's interest in the occult was born when he discovered his great-grandmother's vast collection of mysterious occult artifacts in the storage of his family home in America. Among them was a mermaid mummy, which yielded a mysterious map when taken apart. A discovery which captivated his imagination and led to his current quest. This great-grandmother happened to be a relative of the main Lunar Light family in England, albeit one who had chosen not to succeed the family estate. After discovering this through independent research into his lineage, Avi made contact with the Lunar Light family and continues to maintain a secret correspondence with them to this day. So this is who we are playing. While this area is now called Nakabepo, long ago it was a region of Ise province known as Betsuho. Records indicate that 3 mermaids were caught in a fisherman's net along this coast back at the Heian period. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Let's hear more about these mermaids. They had human heads with the mouths of monkeys and the teeth and bodies of fish. They spoke and even shed tears like humans. Could these be the fish mermaids you mentioned before, Avi? Indubitably. Is this right? Yes, this must be the place. I'm getting goosebumps. Right? I feel the same way. This is so exciting. Betsuho. Betsuho is the old name for the area now known as Nakabepo, Kawagi town in the Agi district, so named during the events of the story. It has since been merged with Tsu city of Mie prefecture. Said to have been the territory of Taira no Kiyomori's father, Taira no Tadamori, the area has a deep connection to the Ise Heike. It is also said to be the location where the 3 mermaids were caught in a fisherman's net and presented to Taira no Tadamori during the Heian period. But then, would such mermaids be so easily trapped by simple fishing nets? I would have thought them more cunning than that, but perhaps these fish mermaids are in fact nothing more than simple sea creatures. This young lady is a distant relative of mine, the 3rd daughter of the Lunar Light family. The Lunar Lights have been in the business of demonic exorcism in England for several generations now. As such, young Sus has received education on this rare subject from a young age and is now an apprentice exorcist. In order to continue her training, or more likely simply because of her interest in the area, Sus has come to Japan to study abroad. Upon hearing such news, I sought to employ her as my guide for this mermaid hunting expedition to Ise Bay. She is apparently quite fond of Japanese myths and folk tales, and has already explored a number of areas concerned with the occult. Interested in visiting Mie prefecture at least once during her stay, she immediately agreed to my request. Oh, Sirs Lunar Light, female exorcist 15 years old. A young exorcist from England currently on exchange in Japan. Possessed of a bold and willful nature, she harbors an ardent interest in Japanese folklore and occult stories. She is quick to involve herself in anything that interests her, not stopping until her curiosity has been completely sated. Although she can be fairly blunt, she shows a naivety appropriate to her age around those she's comfortable with, and is not above the occasional prank. Circe is the 3rd daughter of Ciara Lunalight, the current head of the matrilineal Lunalight family, a long line of exorcists based in England. Along with her 2 older sisters, she has received a specialized education in exorcism ever since she was a child, and is currently in training as an apprentice. As the beings known as demons in the West ultimately share the same root cause as harmful supernatural phenomena in the East, the spirits of the dead, strong thoughts and curses, what she does as an exorcist is fundamentally the same as what Japanese psychics do, with only the methods and terminology differing. I wonder if we get one day a westernish Paranormasight as well, like in Europe or America. And at the same time, everything is so grounded in the Japanese kind of setting. I don't know. Primary spiritual abilities, guardian spirits. The ability to call upon the numerous guardian spirits of the Lunar Light family, invoke their powers to exercise spirits and negate certain psychic abilities. Okay. Shikigami, the ability to turn a piece of paper with an individual's name written on it into a butterfly, which will return to the individual in question. What? Although she does not have to be the one who wrote the name, it must be Circe who casts the spell on the paper. Dowsing, the ability to use a pendulum to search for a target based on what the user can sense of their spiritual power. The effective distance of the spell depends on the strength of the target's spiritual power. Okay. Although she's supposed to be in the care of the Paranormal Affairs Bureau, a confidential Japanese institute during her time in Japan, Circe has been spending more time traveling around the country sightseeing than working through her training curriculum. The supervisor in charge of her training has all but given up on trying to mentor her as a result, resolving to keep an eye on her but otherwise not interfere. As such, she's afforded a relatively high level of freedom. Circe is an ardent fan of Miu Kuruzusu, a girl with potent spirit sense and a senior in the industry in Japan. She harbors both strong admiration and strong feelings of rivalry towards her in equal measure, and it is not uncommon for her to end up a babbling mess when the topic turns to the other girl. She treasures the photograph she had taken with Miu on first meeting her in Tokyo and keeps it with her at all times. Aww. Yeah, the Paranormasight universe is expanding. As far as the girl is concerned, I suppose I could be considered a guardian of sorts. Even so, I often find myself caught up in a pace and completely thrown off guard. If anyone should be shaking things up around here, it ought to be me. Talk about this place. Kawagi Town might be located right next to Mie Prefecture's modern capital, Tsu City, but there's something you have to keep in mind. This was also the birthplace of the Heike, a branch of the Heian period's preeminent Taira clan. If you're going to talk about Ise province, then you absolutely have to mention the Heike. I do have a passing understanding of the topic. The Heike took part in the Genpei War, correct? That's right, that was the war in the Heian period where two great samurai families, the Minamoto and the Taira, locked horns and really got into it. Among the Heike, Taira no Kiyomori was a particularly famous figure who appears in many great works concerning the event. His father, Taira no Tadamori, was the one responsible for securing the Heike's high social standing. So, Tadamori was Kiyomori's father, right? With names like that, how can anyone hope to keep them straight? That's history for you. I'm afraid you just have to memorize them. I suppose you're right about that, then memorize them I shall. Apparently Tadamori was born in Tsu City in a place called Ubushina. Ah, so that's why they call this area the birthplace of the Heike. Tsu City, a city located in the center of the Ise Plain and the capital of Mie Prefecture. Previously known as Anotsu, Tsu City has served as a port town since the Heian period, after which it continued to flourish as an important port city for Japan. Tsu City is also known as the birthplace of the Heike. The Ubushina area in its suburbs is said to be where Taira no Kiyomori's father, Taira no Tadamori, was born. The endless expanse of the Ise Sea, the eternal world, may lie just beyond this horizon. After all, Ise province is the land where they repair the waves from the eternal world. The eternal world is purported to be a perpetual paradise, a separate plane from the world we live in, yes? Could it be that mermaids hail from such a place? Talk about this place. This is the metropolitan center of Mie, and a locus of historical events. I guess that makes it the perfect place to start a new journey. Talk about Betsuho mermaids. Can we get back to those mermaids you mentioned? What became of the 3 that were caught in the fishing nets? At that time, when the lord of this area was Taira no Tadamori, you didn't already forget him. You didn't already forget him, did you? Well, the fisherman thought the mermaids were a fascinating find, so he placed 2 of them into boxes and presented them to Tadamori. Oh, Lord Tadamori must have been well pleased by that. How could he not be? It was known that eating the flesh of a mermaid grants eternal life. Actually, Tadamori evidently said they were disturbing gross and refused to accept them. Gah, what a waste! However, the fisherman cut up the remaining mermaid and ate it himself. So, what happened to him? Well, the fisherman said it was pretty tasty. Well, no, tasty is it? And that's all I've got. Okay. That's it. That's all I could find in existing records. Then the act of eating a mermaid's flesh alone may not produce any results. I suppose then there may be other requisite conditions, wouldn't you say? Well, considering the sheer number of eyewitness reports concerning mermaids, it is odd that there aren't more immortals walking around. Think. Okay. Talk about bats or mermaids. There don't seem to be any records about what happened to the mermaids that Tadamori refused to accept. I suppose it's possible someone in the Heike clan snuck off with him. Now that's a hypothesis I can get behind. Okay. Well, Heike is definitely very connected to mermaids. Yeah. Talk about the Heike. I've put together an assortment of files concerning the Heike, so feel free to give them a look if you're interested. You have my heartfelt gratitude. This will be a long one, right? Yeah. Taira no Tadamori. Yoshitora Utagawa, the exemplary warrior Taira no Tadamori, adapted from the National Diet Library of Japan official website. Damn. Taira no Tadamori, the father of Taira no Kiyomori, an influential figure of the Heian period, was the man responsible for solidifying the social standing of the Ise Taira clan and was notable for being the first samurai permitted to enter the imperial court. Entering the imperial court meant being granted access. Entering the imperial court meant being granted access to the Tenjonoma, a chamber where those who directly served the emperor performed their official duties. In an era where the warrior class was still considered of low status, a samurai rising to the level of court official was unprecedented. The Ise Taira clan went on to extend its influence across various provinces, with the vast wealth it gained through trade with the Song dynasty of China solidifying its foundation. The significant influence was later inherited by his son, Kiyomori. Tadamori was said to have been a man of strong will and perseverance, yet despite the power he amassed in his lifetime, he was also said to have been modest and disinclined to indulge in luxuries. Nukimaru, Tadamori's sword, an heirloom passed down through the Taira clan. Originally named Kogarashi, it is said to have become known as Nukimaru when a giant snake emerged from a lake and made to swallow Tadamori whole as he lay resting. At that moment, Kogarashi, which Tadamori had left leaning nearby, slipped from its scabbard of its own accord and drove the snake away. The name Nukimaru derives from the verb nuku, meaning to unsheath, and reflects the sword's extraordinary act of slipping from its scabbard on its own to save its owner. Nukimaru was later inherited by Tadamori's son Yorimori, but after the downfall of the Taira clan, it is said to have changed hands several times, and its whereabouts are currently unknown. This is probably the curse, well, stone, more or less, like having the sword sheath thing. The mermaids of Betsuho. One time when Tadamori was visiting Betsuho in Ise province, 3 creatures with the heads of humans, the lips of monkeys, and the teeth and bodies of fish were caught in the local fishermen's nets. Dubbing these creatures Ningyo, the original Japanese word for mermaids, The fishermen put 2 of them in a box that had washed up with them and presented them to Tadamori. However, Tadamori was unnerved by their appearance and refused to accept them. It is said that the remaining mermaid was cut up and eaten by the fishermen, who found them to be delicious. Delectable even. Oh, there's one thing I should warn you about though. Oh, this group sometimes gets referred to as Izetaira as well, which might make things a little confusing. I'll go ahead and label it all as Heike. Does it really matter? Aren't they basically the same thing? Not exactly. You see, the term Izetaira refers to the Taira clan as a whole because it originated in Ise. On the other hand, people generally refer to the family within the clan that included Tadamori and Kiyomori as simply the Heike. The family features prominently in the stories we are interested in, so I will use Heike most of the time, plus it has a nice ring to it. Either way works for me, so do as you like. The Tale of Heike, also used Heike. You're awfully particular about this, but I rather like that kind of fastidiousness. Talk about the Heike. Anyway, after a number of events, the Heike would go on to lose the Battle of Dan no Ura and be completely eradicated. Ah, I believe I know this one. Dan no Ura is found in Kyushu, is it not? Bingo! The clan was chased out of Kyoto and pushed further and further west until they were eventually wiped out there. It pains me to think of such a resplendently glorious clan meeting such an ignominious end. More's the pity. That's why the Heike's resentment is particularly strong, and many remnants of it remain even today. Shrines and monuments have even been erected throughout the land in an attempt to quell that resentment. Ah, and now we reach your particular field of expertise. Because the clan fell from such an exalted position to so abruptly, that resentment is exceptionally persistent and quite pervasive. That said, famous places related to people like Taira no Kiyomori are well attended by worshippers, so they are relatively stable. It's the puffed up and pretentious Heike clan members that no one even remembers who caused the most trouble. I seem to recall a number of individuals going so far as to claim that those outside of the Heike clan could not even be considered human. But if that's the case, are we really safe here? You don't think we might find ourselves assailed by these lingering grudges? Much of Ise province is protected by shrines, and the area is suffused with spiritual energy, so we're probably safer here than most places. But that's just the land itself. Objects or people that the resentment has seeped into are a different story altogether. That's somewhat troubling to hear. Talk about the Heike. Well, either way you look at it, this region is still home to many places and things associated with the Heike. Excellent. I believe I've gotten a grasp of the situation at hand. It's time we made our way to the next locale. We are on the clock after all. Let's get to it. Yeah, I think this is everything. No mockingbird sticker. Okay. Move. Anno Town. Ooh, completely different map. Completely different map. Anno Town. Date unknown. Morning, Anno Town, Kusawa. Well, it would seem that we've arrived. And where are we now, sirs? This is an area in Anno Town known as Kusawa. Kusawa is quite famous because of the Yao Bikuni legend. I would be surprised if there was anyone who hasn't heard of it. I'm sorry to say I've never heard of it. Wait, really? Come on now, don't act so shocked. You can't expect me to know every little thing, and besides I'm not even from this country. The very reason I requested you be my guide was so you could teach me about things like this. I guess that's true. Okay, I understand. I'll be counting on your explanations. Anno Town. Anno Town is located in the Age district, so named during the events of the story. It has since been merged with Tsu City of Mie Prefecture. Located at the foot of Kyogamine, a mountain with a single 819-meter peak, the land surrounding it is rich in natural splendor, with multiple hot springs welling forth from the earth around it. From the Edo period until the Meiji period, it was known for being the primary place of production of tsumoji, a delicate fabric woven in such a way as to be semi-transparent. Oh. I was never in a hot spring. This is the thing I absolutely want to do once in life. I mean, I took a hot bath, or like there are these wellness swim bath housings. I don't know, they kind of offered like hot baths as well, but I don't think this is the same thing as in Japan with natural hot springs, you know. Oh. This is where the most edgy things happen as well. Anyway. If Yao Bikuni really did exist, I wonder what sort of life she led. So this is Sato, right? Yao Bikuni is pretty much Sato. Can't begin to imagine what it would be like to live for hundreds of years. Well, she didn't exactly. She leapt through time. I think, at least. Surroundings. Ah, the favorite beauty of the serene Japanese countryside. It really is charming. I don't know, kind of looks like where I'm coming from. A little bit. A very tiny little bit. Oh yes, the incessant chirping of locusts combined with unrelenting heat. This is Japanese summer, alright. It's fascinating to think that such a peaceful place could be home to such profound historical events. I'm practically jittering with excitement. I can see that. Let's try to keep a cool head, shall we? Mockingbird number 16 discovered. It is Lil Blue. Damn, look at this bad boy. Look at his hair. Forgot how this hairstyle is called, but this has a name as well. Nice. Nice. He looks like someone who could beat you in the fight. Nice. Shrine. Yeah, very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. What's down there? Some sort of shrine? This shrine is apparently dedicated to Sugawara no Michizane. We should go pay our respects before we leave. Okay. The Legend of Yao Bikuni. The legend of Yao Bikuni originated here in Kusawa, Ano Town. Long, long ago, a 17-year-old girl named Osato lived in this village. She unknowingly ingested the meat of a mermaid that was served during a village gathering and became immortal. After subsequently being persecuted by the other villagers, she became a nun and made a pilgrimage around the entire country. At the end of the story, she eventually returned to this village and lived out the rest of her very long life. Tales told in other parts of the country play out in almost exactly the same fashion. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yao Bikuni. The tale of Yao Bikuni, a bhikkhuni, fully ordained Buddhist nun who acquired preternatural longevity after eating the flesh of a mermaid, can be found in almost every region of Japan. Although the exact details vary greatly between regions, they all share the same fundamental element: a girl who ate mermaid flesh lived for 800 years. The Yao Bikuni legend passed down a mere prefecture is as follows. Once upon a time, a beautiful girl by the name of Osato lived in Kusawa village. One day, when Osato was 17, the flesh of a mermaid was served at the village gathering. The other villagers, disturbed at the thought of eating such a strange creature, refused to eat it, but Osato unknowingly ate the mermaid's flesh. From that moment on, Osato didn't age a day. Shunned by the other villagers and treated as a monster, she was eventually forced to leave the village. Becoming a nun, Osato traveled the length and breadth of Japan for hundreds of years before eventually returning to Kusawa village, where her long life at last came to an end. Which is wrong! Okay. The legend of Yao Bikuni, the girl who ate the flesh of a mermaid and lived for 800 years, has been passed down all over Japan. Not only here in Mie Prefecture's Ano town, but in Fukui, Aichi, and Gifu prefectures as well. In total, the story has been found in 121 locations in 28 prefectures throughout the country, or at least that's what certain research has indicated. Doesn't that seem like a lot? Or are there really that many different Yao Bikunis out there? Obviously, not all of the legends can be true, but I actually have a theory on the subject. Would you like to hear it? By all means. Most of the legends refer to a woman who stopped aging and lived for 800 years after consuming the meat of a mermaid. At that point, because others would find it strange that she wasn't getting any older, she wasn't able to live in normal society anymore. I suppose that would be natural. It would explain why she withdrew from the world and became a nun. Exactly, and that's how she got the name Yao Bikuni, the 800-year-old Bikuni nun. With 800 years on her hands, she could have easily made a pilgrimage around the entire country. How interesting, Buddhist priests are known for trekking throughout the land as a form of ascetic training. And if we consider the 121 locations where the legend was found, with 800 years to spare, she could have spent 6 years in each location. 6 years would certainly be enough time for her to make a name for herself in each and every location, right? Oh my dear, I believe I see what you're getting at. Your theory posits that the stories of Yao Bikuni that have been passed down in every corner of the country all refer to the exact same individual. Well, it might be a bit much to say that all of them are the same. There may have been a few different people. But it's more convincing than the theory that there were 121 people. I also think the Yao Bikuni of Wakasa province is the most likely origin of the legend. I wonder, not all of the different instances of the story throughout Japan also claim that particular location as her place of final rest? That may be true, but I assume that each of those different places wanted to have a grave or some other tangible marker to base the legend on. But would so many people that are purported to have lived for 800 years all die at around the same time? It seems pretty unlikely. When you believe some of the tales were embellished somewhat. That sort of thing happens all the time. Legends are always mixtures of truth and fantasies. Moreover, it doesn't make sense that every single immortal would decide to become a nun. There were likely some places that simply believed Yao Bikuni was the term for an immortal. Rather than a nun, for all we know, she said Amma be none of that. It became an Amma diver. Badumts! This is very... maybe it's hitting different in Japanese, but... yeah, this is pretty terrible. It's actually pretty insightful. Many legends are based on simple semantic misunderstandings. Now wait just a minute, I won't stand here and let my dumb joke actually become a salient point of discussion. Let's drop it then. What's the if one were to somehow live for 800 years? A person that became immortal after the Kamakura period could still be alive today. True, and if so, I would love to sit him down for a long chat. Can Kusawa's legend of Yao Bikuni really be true? There must be falsehoods and fictions mixed into the tales, surely. Who knows? Misa province isn't that far from Wakasa province after all. She may have simply walked here from there. The fact that the stories from each different area are so similar does make me wonder if they didn't get mixed together somehow. Ah, you think the legend may be an amalgamation of stories from various locations? Exactly, but then again, the immortal in the story from this location has her own name, which gives the legend a certain verisimilitude. I'd never heard of that word before. Indeed it does. I guess we can assume that a girl with that name really did live here long ago. Then something must have happened to make people believe she had become immortal. It's reasonable to assume a story then got mixed up with various legends of Yaobikuni from around the country before being passed down. Of course, the exact timing of these events is still unclear, but that does present an interesting possibility. She could very well still be living in this village. Wouldn't that be a compelling development? Leave it to an occult writer to think up something like that. That's right, you're seeing the prodigious imaginative power of a fantasy author in action. Yes, it's really something. But the fact of the matter is that almost no traces of Yao Beacon remain in this village. Even her grave, which is referred to as Lady Yao's tomb, has never been located. But then, did we come all this way for nothing? Another topic. Well, it might not have a direct connection, but there's something one should always consider when discussing Ise. The Tales of Ise. Have you heard of it? It's the oldest extant collection of Japanese verse compiled sometime during the Heian period. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with it. But I have heard of the tale of Genji and the tale of Heike. Is it anything like those? Well, those were also stories written during the Heian period, but that's where the similarities end. Nice try though. Well, it sounds similar enough anyway. Don't worry, I'm not an expert on the subject either. Basically, this collection of verse elaborates on a number of waka poems by giving accounts of the events run in each one. The entire collection of 125 passages is referred to as the Tales of Ise. That's easy enough to remember, no? The Tales of Ise is a collection of short stories, check. Ah, one more thing, the title might be The Tales of Ise, but the content isn't all that focused on the actual area. What's this now? Are they intentionally attempting to confuse and bewilder us? Some believe the title comes from the fact that passage 69 is set in Ise province. At any rate, I just thought I should bring it up because it does have at least a slight bearing on the topic at hand. If you're keen to learn more, I will add more detailed information to the files. Why, thank you. I'll be sure to read through them later. Yeah, let's do this. The Tales of Ise, a collection of verse, or Uta Monogatari, thought to be the oldest surviving work in Japan. It is particularly well known for the opening sentence of many of its prose passages. Long ago, there was a man. Believed to have been compiled in the Heian period, it greatly influenced the literature of the era, including famous works such as The Tale of Genji. The central figure of the narrative is speculated to be a fictionalized version of Aribara no Narihara, a poet of the Heian period, with the prose passages serving as a biography for the character. Both the author and its exact date of publication are unknown. The Tales of Ise Emaki Scroll, adapted from the Integrated Collections Database of the National Institutes for Cultural Heritage. Where is the text? The narrative spans 125 episodes, which vary in length from a few lines to several pages. It covers the life of a man from his coming of age to his death, and focuses primarily on the protagonist and the people around him, particularly his romantic dalliances with women. Some of its most famous episodes are summarized below. Episode 1. Uikoburi. Having come of age, a man sets out on a ceremonial falconry excursion where he catches sight of two beautiful sisters. Infatuated, he cuts off the sleeve of his robe, inscribes a waka poem on it, and sends it to them. Episode 6. Akutagawa. A man, having finally succeeded in stealing away a beautiful noblewoman, flees with her to a warehouse where they take shelter from the rain. However, the man discovers in the morning that she had disappeared, devoured by a demon that inhabited the warehouse. like Chainsaw Man or something. Episode 9. Azuma Kudari. Feeling despondent about his future, a man embarks on a journey to the east with a group of friends. In Mikawa province, he catches sight of some beautiful flowers and reflects on how far his journey has brought him, and recites a poem. In Suruga province, he sees snow on the peak of Mount Fuji, contemplates the passage of time, and recites a poem. In Musashi province, he spots an unfamiliar bird on the shores of the Sumida River. Recalls his wife and hometown and recites a poem. His friends all weep upon hearing the letter, moved by his feelings for his far away home. Episode 23. Tsutsuizutsu. Close friends from childhood, a man and a woman exchange poems and are wed. But when the man prepares to travel to faraway Kawachi province to visit his other lover, the woman displays no hint of displeasure as she sees him off on his journey. Suspicious of her actions, the man hides in their garden and watches as his wife makes herself up as beautifully as she can, but when she then sits and recites poems out of concern for her traveling husband, he feels a profound shame and decides not to go to Kawachi. Episode 69, Kari no Tsukai. This is the important one, probably. Having been sent to the Ise province to hunt game, a man is received with great hospitality by the imperial princess serving as priestess at Ise Shrine. Attracted to each other, the two attempt to meet in secret but can find no opportunity to speak intimately. Although they promise one another to meet the following day, it is not meant to be. The two exchange poems of farewell before the man sets out to continue his journey. And lastly, episode 95, Hikuboshi. Having fallen in love with a woman who serves in the imperial court, a man finally manages to meet her after patiently waiting for the right moment. However, the two are still separated by a screen. The man recites a poem to her, proclaiming that his love for her is greater even than Hikuboshi's love for Orihime. He compares the screen separating them to the Milky Way that separated the two legendary lovers. Moved by his words, the woman removes the screen, allowing them to finally meet face to face. Okay. The Tales of Ise. There's one other thing we can learn from the Tales of Ise. Adding the tale of to a book title really classes things up, you should keep in mind. It was apparently all the rage during the Heian period. Oh, I couldn't agree more. My next work is certainly going to be a tale of. Well then, I suppose that brings this particular subject to a close. Subject to a close. On to the next. No rest for the wicked, I say. Time to tackle the next mermaid myth. Sure. Move again? If Yao Beacon really did exist. Futamigaura. Isn't this the place where the mermaid, the fish girl was found? Date unknown. Futami Town, Futamigaura Coast. And here we find our next subject of inquiry. What place might this be, my dear? This is Futamigaura. Futamigaura? I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's Futamigaura, but it sounds weird. I don't know. The coastline that lies beside Futami Town. It's just over from Ise City. Then we penetrated the outskirts of Ise City proper. Things are certainly beginning to heat up. I infer that Ise City was the prefectural capital from the fact that Mio Prefecture was once known as East Province. Not bad, huh? Well, I can understand how you would arrive at that conclusion. But the truth is, Mio Prefecture is composed of 4 separate provinces. Ise, Shima, Iga, and Kii. Is that so? But that doesn't change the fact that Ise City is regarded as the spiritual capital of Japan, making it a very important location. Very interesting, but the sun has already begun its steady descent, so perhaps we should pick up the pace a bit. Of course, I have my own reasons for trying to locate the mythical creatures, but for now I intend to scour this land in order to learn as much as I can about its lore and legends. Mockingbird sticker? No carcass yet. Utamigaura Sea is famously said to purify the body, so many visitors to Ise Shrine come here as well. The scenic beauty of the location has even been featured in poems from antiquity. It certainly is easy on the eyes. The strands of pine trees along the shore make for quite a striking image. To make it even better, the embankment we are standing on offers a 360-degree view of Ise Bay, and in the game as well. It makes you want to get out on the very edge to take it all in. It really does. Being surrounded by the bay like this is such an enchanting feeling. What a breathtaking view. Okay. As far as the girl is concerned, I suppose I could be considered a guardian of sorts, even so I often find myself caught up in her pace and completely thrown off guard. If anyone should be shaking things up around here, it ought to be me. It is the same as... Huh? But don't check mark. This is weird. Talk about Futamigaura mermaids. So, does this place have any legends featuring mermaids? It does. A record called the Kagenki was written by people at Horyuji Temple after the Kamakura period. In that record, there are a total of 6 instances of information concerning mermaids. 6, huh? That's certainly promising. One of those entries describes a sighting here in Futami, Ise province, on April 3rd during... Wait, it's currently April 4th. Okay. It would be crazy if I played this yesterday. Ise province on April 3rd during the 2nd year of the Enbun era, which would be 1357. So they even noted the exact date. How fortuitous. Fortuitous? Fortuitous. The passage is as follows. From the sea of Futami in Ise province came Enmeiju, delivering perpetuity. So, what exactly does that mean? My guess is that a mermaid was spotted in the sea by Futami and it was named Enmeiju, meaning health and long life, because it granted longevity. Aha, it granted longevity, did it? Finally we're getting to the good stuff. Yes, it's another account relating to mermaids to Yao Bikuni. It seems the idea of mermaids granting immortality has already been established at the time. Indeed, and now we even have a name. Talk about Futamigaura mermaids again. So what sort of mermaid was this and what became of it? No clue. Again with vague records. These people write down the appearance of some fantastic creature and then just let it wander off. I haven't personally gone over every bit of research on the matter, but I can speculate on an answer. Records of mermaids in other places also often refer to them by name. In fact, it may not have been all that uncommon for the people in the area to encounter them when these records were written. Let me see if I follow your meaning. The same mermaid would appear repeatedly, leading people in the area to grow accustomed to it. Am I on the right track? Exactly. I mean, you wouldn't bother giving a name to something you only saw once after all. These people may have even come to have a kind of rapport with the mermaids. At the very least, it doesn't appear as though they were trying to capture any. Mermaids that people didn't want to capture? And they weren't seeking its flesh. Perhaps there was a way of obtaining immortality even without the meat. Maybe mermaid meat really was just tasty and nothing more. And if that were the case, then it makes perfect sense that they would view the mermaid as a divine creature. So they treated us as an auspicious being that blessed others with long life. You may be onto something there. This makes me think of that theory you mentioned about how there might be 2 different kinds of mermaids. Oh, remembered? I stand by my theory. There's the fish mermaid, which looks more like an aquatic monster or beastie. And the human mermaid, which resembles a demi-human or nymph. Indeed, that's the simplest way to describe it anyhow. Assuming the mermaid in question had a name, formed relationships with humans and granted longevity, it stands to reason it was of the human mermaid variety. You have a point. The mermaids we've encountered thus far have all been caught in nets and appear to be more like fish mermaids. It seems more likely then that the mermaids who grant longevity are actually these human mermaids. Interesting, that in turn would suggest... My word, would this mean that one could become immortal without eating their flesh? I'm not sure. There are countless legends that reference the need to consume their flesh. But I can't help but feel like there's more to it. If human mermaids are capable of communicating with us, I'd really like to speak to one. Agreed. The mermaid has taken on quite a different appearance than modern folk tales. Talk about interesting sighting. Ah, speaking of which, this is entirely unrelated, but there's something I've been wondering, do you mind? What? But our conversation was just getting good? Protest all you like, but I shall ask anyway. On our way here, I noticed a certain something adorning the entrances to everyone's houses. What was that? Oh, right, those are Somin Shodai talismans. Somin Shodai? Yes, although in most of Japan they're usually only hung up around the new year, but here in the Izutobashima region they're traditionally left up all year long. Interesting. I can add more detailed information to the files for you later. More files? Oh my goodness, this episode is so long already. Somin Shodai. A type of talisman inscribed with the characters Somin Shodai Shison, meaning descendant of Somin Shodai. These talismans come in a variety of forms, ranging from smaller objects such as paper slips, wooden tags, or hexagonal wooden charms, to larger objects such as hoops made of entwined miscanthus reeds or a shimenaba, sacred ropes used for ritual purification. These talismans are generally placed at the doorways of households as a prayer for sound health and to ward off illness. Many households in Izushima place Somin Shodai talismans at the entrances to the homes, usually in the form of paper slips or shimenaba. Although most families in Japan only put shimenaba up during the new year, in Izushima they are kept up the whole year round, being replaced once a year on New Year's Eve. The words Somin Shodai originate from the name of the central figure in the legend of the same name. Although many versions of the tale exist throughout Japan, the tale as generally told in Izushima is as follows. On New Year's Eve, the deity Gozo Tenno set out to court the princess of Ryugu. However, when night fell, he found that none of the nearby inns had a spare room to offer him, and so he turned to two brothers who lived by the sea for hospitality. The wealthy younger brother, Kotan Shodai, turned him away despite having the means to accommodate him. The elder brother, Somin Shodai, welcomed Gozo Tenno into his home even though he lived in poverty. Pleased by the simple yet heartfelt reception he had received, Gozo Tenno rewarded this hospitality by sparing only Somin Shodai from a plague that ravaged the area the next year. Okay. Ever since, it is said that hanging a wreath of miscanthus reeds and a charm declaring oneself to be a descendant of Somin Shodai from one's waist will offer protection from plagues and illness. This tradition has survived to the present day, where such charms are now used as talismans for good health and well-being. What is it? What is it? Now you're making me antsy. As far as the girl is concerned, I suppose I could be considered a guardian. Okay, it's the same. Talk about Somin Shodai. Come now, sirs, you realize something about those Somin Shodai, didn't you? You must share. No, nothing like that. It just made me think about how close this area is to the eternal world. Is it? What does that mean? You would already know this from the files, but regarding the Somin Shodai, its origin goes back to a legend about the deity Gozo Tenno, who was courting the princess of Ryugu. Ryugu, you say? That's right, Ryugu is close to this place. In other words, that place is very close to the eternal world. Yes, and furthermore, Gozo Tenno was also the guardian deity of the Gion Shoja temple. The very same Gion Shoja who gets mentioned in our good old friend, The Tale of Heike. So this, what was it again? From the bells of the Gion Shoja echoes out the impermanence of all things, right? It sounds so cool that even I memorize it. Haven't got a clue what it means though. Yes, that's the one. As for its meaning, you can look it up yourself. Fine, fine. So what you're saying is, Izushima is a land with deep ties about Ryugu and the Heike. And that is exactly why the Somin Shodai tradition is so well established here. Ah, that reminds me. There's something about Ryugu's princess that keeps bothering me as well. She certainly is mysterious, That reminds me about Futami Gaura. It's night now. Dear me, how time flies when listening to your lectures, sis. The sun has already gone down. I suppose I got carried away, sorry. Well, if that results in such a lovely view of the sea at night, I'll not complain. You're right, just look at all those stars. Stars speckle the sky as far as the eye can see. Not bad at all. Okay. No corpse so far? No corpse so far. Dear me, I dragged her around all day long, didn't I? Or perhaps I should say I had her drag me around all day long. As a guardian for the time being, I suppose I ought to have had us retire earlier. Though Circe herself seems to have limitless reserves of energy. Surroundings? Starry sky. What am I supposed to click? Oh, but we really let time get away from us. Look how dark it's gotten. Without the light from the stars above, we'd be lost in pitch darkness. But look, the heavens are entirely enveloped in a shower of dazzling pinpricks of light. What a sight to behold. Kind of reminds me of the title screen of this game, where it's underwater, but also like in the universe. I mean, with a bit of fantasy like this screen looks like being underwater, I guess, as well. Would you happen to be versed in constellations, sirs? Well, I've dabbled a bit in astrology, so I guess I know a thing or two. Excellent, to tell. Stars back in the sky. Talk about constellations. Well, if we consider the constellations you can see in Japan during summer, the first one that comes to mind is the Summer Triangle. It's an easy one to find. Triangle, huh? Then I presume it is made up of 3 stars? Correct. Vega in the constellation Lyra, Deneb in the constellation Cygnus, and Altair in the constellation Aquila. This trio of bright stars can be observed close to the Milky Way in the season. What? I want to see. How do we go about identifying them? Well, first, low in the southwestern portion of the sky, look for a star that glows red, Antares of the Scorpio constellation. Southwest, you say? From here that would mean facing inland and looking to the right. Okay, try to find a red star low in the sky and point to it. Summer Triangle. Okay. Deneb, Cygnus, Vulpecula, Summer Triangle, Delphinus, Aquila, Altair, Hikoboshi, Lyra, Vega, Orihime, Hercules. Possibly the most famous of the summer constellations, the Summer Triangle is formed by connecting Vega in the constellation Lyra, Deneb in the constellation Cygnus, and Altair in the constellation Aquila. Vega and Altair are also said to represent Orihime and Hikoboshi, the two central figures of the Tanabata legend. The romantic imagery of the star-crossed lovers separated by the Milky Way has captivated people's imagination since time immemorial. How to find the Summer Triangle? The Summer Triangle is visible in the sky almost directly overhead around August. Start by facing southwest and looking low in the sky to find Antares, the bright red heart of the constellation Scorpius. From there, look straight up and you should spot Vega near the zenith. Facing inland, there's a red star low in the sky. That star is Antares. Can you find it? This one. Star. Wait, I do believe I found it. The star just there with the reddish tint. That must be Antares, yes? Correct, that is indeed Antares, the brightest star in the Scorpio constellation. Haha, I found it all by myself. Why, I would make quite a celestial cartographer, if I do say so myself. I hate to rain on your parade, but you were supposed to be looking for a star in the Summer Triangle, so please try again. That's right. Why not try it looking straight up from Antares? I bet you'll find Vega in the sky's zenith. Give it a shot. The Summer Triangle will be at the sky's zenith. See if you can find all three stars. Is it called zenith? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right or not. Here? There. Multiple clicks one. Yeah, I can click on this and on this. I think this is wrong, but I still want to click on this. Eureka! I've spotted it! Oh, that's Altair, one of the three stars in the Summer Triangle. Part of the Aquila constellation, Altair is also known in Japan as Hikoboshi for its role in the Tanabata Star Festival. Then that must mean the Orihime star will be on the opposite side of the Milky Way. Exactly right. Can you figure out which one it is? There's still another star in the Summer Triangle to find. Might be hard to see because of the angle. Right you are. It certainly is a bit tricky to see something directly above you. There, that must be it. Bingo, that's Vega, one of the three stars in the Summer Triangle. In Japan, Vega is also called the Orihime star and is famous for its connection to the Tanabata Star Festival. Ho, that means I've managed to spot both Orihime and Hikoboshi. It's as if I've drawn the two star-crossed lovers together with my own hand. How overjoyed they must be. Yeah, nice work. I didn't expect you to be such romantic. One of the other stars in the Summer Triangle is in the same area, so see if you can find it. This one. Okay. If my eye is as discerning as I believe it to be, that's the one. Oh, nice find. That's Deneb, one of the three stars in the Summer Triangle. Deneb lies within the Milky Way, which earns it the nickname Milky Way star. Ah, it does indeed appear to be swimming nicely along that starry stream. There, I've located all three stars of the Summer Triangle. How do you like that? Good work. Clap, clap, clap. Now you've mastered the summer skies. Should I start addressing you as Professor? That's me. Feel free to rely on my knowledge. Alright then, tell me, what is another name for the star Hikoboshi? Altair. That's right, well done, Professor. Phew, I mean, nothing to it. Regardless, we've seen all there is to see here in Futamigaura. I'd even go so far as to call this a wrap. I think that covers all the mermaid legends for Mir Prefecture, but is there anywhere else here you're keen to visit, sirs? What? We haven't even visited Ise Shrine yet. If you ask me, we've barely scratched the surface. Ah, you've got a point there, but it's getting late, so let's save that for tomorrow, shall we? Alright. The next day. The chapter is still not over yet? What is this chapter? Oh my god. Mount Asama. Mount Asama. Date unknown. Morning. Ise City, Toba City, Mount Asama. Wow. Talk about a gorgeous view. It is something, isn't it? This is Mount Asama's observation platform. It overlooks Toba City on one side and Ise City on the other. So that's Toba City over there, huh? What's Toba got going for it? Well, the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Toba is Toba Castle, built in the Sengoku period by none other than the pirate daimyo Lord Kuki, who at one time led the Kuki naval fleet. Oh, that's more exciting than I anticipated. As for the Toba-shima area, it's famous for having the highest population of armor divers in Japan. Ah, I knew there'd be something touristy. What a fantastic blend of culture and history. Mount Asama. Mount Asama straddles the border between Ise City and Toba City and is also known by its official name of Asamagatake. Part of the Ise-shima National Park, it was selected as one of the 100 landscapes of Japan, a listing of famous scenic sites gathered from across the country. Okay. Kongo Shoji, a temple located on the southern peak of Mount Asama, was built to protect Ise Shrine from the northeast, traditionally regarded as a spiritually vulnerable direction. Perhaps as a result, many worshippers who visit Ise Shrine also make the journey to Kongo Shoji. The observatory at the peak of the mountain offers a sweeping view of Toba City and the many islands that dot Ise Bay. Bam bam bam. Bam 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 bam. From what I hear, lots of the inns in Toba are run by armor divers and fishermen. I can't wait to dig into some seafood tonight. Did you see a mockingbird sticker? No? Okay. She's been packed and ready to venture forth since the early hours of the morning, though I myself beat her to the punch, having been too excited to sleep a wink all night. Surroundings. Apparently Mount Asama's peak sits at 555 meters above sea level, so it's not that high. But as it's situated at the tip of the Shima Peninsula, it offers a magnificent view of Toba Bay's coastline and the outlying islands. Since we stopped by the shrine this morning, I assume we take the mountain path. All I can say is this place takes my breath away. Cityscape. Over there you can see the city of Toba spread out along the coast. By the way, they tend to call this the Ise-shima region, but most of the time the term includes Toba as well, something to keep in mind. So when I hear Ise-shima, I should also think Toba, huh? Good to know. Ise-shima. Although the term Ise-shima is sometimes used to refer to part of the Nansei southern region of Mie Prefecture, the area covered by this term is not clearly defined, with it usually referring to the two major tourist destinations Ise Shrine and Shima Peninsula and their surrounding areas. As the area referred to as Ise-shima also includes Toba City, it is also sometimes referred to as the Ise-Toba-shima area to avoid confusion. And so much lore, so much difficult Japanese lore so on top of that with all those weird names. Ugh. Talk about the Kuki Navy. First off, you should know that the naval troops in the Sengoku period were basically just pirates. Pirates, huh? Yes, they would put together crews of rowdy sailors, arm them to the teeth, and have them patrol a designated area of the sea. They only actually served under the commander as a naval force when there was a battle. So that's what the navy was like back then, huh? a ragtag bunch of pirates only called on to do their duty in times of need. Exactly, in fact, such forces only came to be called navies during the Edo period, and that was purely a matter of convenience. As for the Kuki Navy, it was one of the pirate bands patrolling the waters of Ise Bay. A man named Kuki Yoshitaka was its commander, hence the name. He distinguished himself in the service of Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi, eventually rising to the position of daimyo of Shima province. That's why they called him the Pirate Daimyo. He started as a lowly pirate but rose all the way to the top of the chain of command. Did you say Oda Nobunaga? Him, I've heard of. He was the demon king of the sixth heaven, no? True, but that's a title he gave himself. Still, a pirate and a daimyo, what an enchanting combination. That may be, but he wasn't blessed where allies were concerned. It seems he was always butting heads with his relatives. Oh? For one thing, he may have had his nephew Sumitaka assassinated in order to take over the Kuki clan. He also fought on the opposite side to his own son, Moritaka, in the decisive battle of Sekigahara. And in the end, spurred on by his vassals, he committed suicide on Toshijima, that island over there. So while Kuki became daimyo of Shima province, his land was confiscated during his son's rule and the clan fell into decline. Life truly is full of ups and downs, how the mighty do fall, and he must have been quite a character. Talk about the Kuki Navy again. That reminds me, there's another fascinating legend related to the Kuki clan. Oh, do tell. It's about Kuki Yoshitaka's nephew, Sumitaka. He had an extraordinarily beautiful daughter named Princess Hatsune. I dare say I know where this is going. Whenever a legend starts with a beautiful daughter, it inevitably ends with trouble. You're not wrong there. Princess Hatsune was so beautiful that she saw no end of suitors, like a certain girl in Britain, and her father sought to marry her off to achieve his political ends. But the princess already had a lover, so she fought against her father's plans, and even ran away several times only to be brought home. I knew it. Alas, that's what life was like for the daughters of powerful figures in those days. Well, Princess Hatsune lamented her fate. Must I be cursed with such misfortune merely for my beauty? And she didn't stop there. May no beautiful daughter be born to this land again. Such was the curse she left behind, before throwing herself down a well. So ends the legend. Not what I would call a happy ending. The princess may have had good intentions, but I am sure no one else felt she was doing them any favors. Good intentions? That isn't how I interpreted it. Well, what's your take on the story then? When authority figures try to force other people's hands, they bring these things upon themselves. It's just asking to get cursed. Fair enough, I see your point. Still, the princess did take it a bit far. To me, though, it almost feels like that part was tacked on later. As if someone thought it would make the story more impactful, and that word of it would travel further if the princess killed herself at the end. Oh, if you're right, then that would change the story completely. But there's something else that interests me more. Sumitaka became head of the Kuki clan in 1560, but he was so young that Yoshitaka had to be appointed as his guardian. His exact age at the time is known, but the common belief is that he was about 8 years old. Nothing unusual there. Premature inheritances were a common occurrence in those days. But consider this. When Sumitaka died 24 years later in 1584, he would have been 32 years old. Yes? Even if we suppose that Princess Hatsune was 15, the ages don't quite add up, do they? Age differences weren't so much a point of contention back then, but even so, that is a bit odd. Which begs the question, did Princess Hatsune really exist to begin with? And even if she did, was she really Sumitaka's daughter? An Agate Magatama was unearthed at the place where the princess was supposedly buried. But that could easily have been planted there to lend credibility to the tale. Well, once you start doubting, it's hard not to see lies everywhere. True, The pursuit of the unknown starts with belief, doesn't it? Well said. A certain occult researcher taught me that one. You don't say. Kuki Princess Hatsune. Illustration of the Kuki fleet at Busan, adapted from the University of Tokyo Komaba Library Collection. The Kuki clan, the pirates who became feudal lords. During the Sengoku period, Shima province was home to a number of local clans, among which the Kuki clan was just one of the many pirate clans operating in Ise Bay. However, things changed when Kuki Yoshitaka correctly read the changing tides and allied himself first with Oda Nobunaga and then Toyotomi Hideyoshi, both powerful figures of the era. Rising to prominence as commander of the Kuki navy, he became the feudal lord of Shima province, founding Toba Castle as his base of operations. While Yoshitaka was in the service of Nobunaga, the head of the Kuki clan was his nephew Sumitaka, with Yoshitaka serving as his advisor. Despite his position, Sumitaka was little more than a puppet lord and died young, reportedly due to illness just 2 years after the Honno-ji incident. However, some theories suggest that he was actually poisoned by Yoshitaka as part of a scheme to seize control of the family. The Legend of Princess Hatsune. Kuki Sumitaka's daughter, Princess Hatsune, was said to have been a woman of great beauty. Sumitaka planned to marry her off as part of a political marriage. However, Princess Hatsune refused, saying that she had already promised a future to someone else. Upon learning that Princess Hatsune's beloved was a member of an enemy clan, Sumitaka was enraged and insisted that she marry the person he had chosen for her. Although Princess Hatsune made numerous attempts to escape in order to be with her lover, she was caught each time and forced to return home. Despairing of her fate, Princess Hatsune lamented her beauty, blaming it for her predicament before throwing herself down a well in sorrow. As she did so, she prayed with her last breath that no beautiful woman would ever be born in that land again, or so the legend goes. Okay. Despite the tale persevering as part of local folklore, many questions about the accuracy of Princess Hatsune's legend remain, including Sumitaka's age at the time. Oh, I just realized something. Kuki Sumitaka died or was assassinated exactly 400 years ago. Is that significant? It is. A special spiritual significance is attached to periods of 400 years. For instance, the cycle of death and rebirth supposedly lasts 400 years, and some stories claim that a soul endures for 400 years. Of course, 800-year mortals have twice that lifespan, but as you can see, 400 years is widely considered a good cutoff point. So there's a chance something happens after 400 years? Maybe. In any case, we should probably tread carefully here. It sounds to me as if we are in the right place at the right time. Talk about armor divers. Armor divers have a long history in the Tobashima region. Evidence indicates that 3 divers have been fishing in the area since ancient times. You don't say. 3 divers, okay. Most notably, it is said that Oben, who once presented an abalone to Yamatohime no Mikoto, was the very first armor diver. In fact, there is a shrine dedicated to Oben in Kusaki that is considered a sacred place to armor divers of the Tobashima region. Is that so? She must have been truly legendary. Moreover, there are several poems in the famous 8th century poetry anthology Man-yoshu that depict the armor diving in Shima province. Armor divers also appear in dozens of ukiyo-e from the Edo period. Clearly they were a popular theme. It's quite incredible to think that their method of fishing has not only endured for so long, but has been recorded in such exquisite detail. There is another point worth noting. Armor divers have long been likened to mermaids for their skill and grace. You could even argue that the armor diver culture that is so deeply rooted in this place is interwoven with the region's mermaid legends. Ah yes, there is a theory that the mermaids of Ise Bay were simply armor divers. It does seem likely there's a connection between the two, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were the originators of the legend. Perhaps, but I would be beyond disappointed if that's all there is to it. Yeah. Oh, right. By By the way, there's another legend surrounding the armored divers of the Tobashima region regarding something called the Tomokazuki. The Tomokazuki. Oh, it's the thing we saw as user. It is believed that an armored diver may encounter a copy of herself underwater who will then offer her an abalone. If she accepts, the Tomokazuki doppelganger will drag her to the bottom of the sea, never to be seen again. Ugh, Sears, please don't string scary stories on me out of nowhere. That's why the armored divers of this area wear the Seiman and Doman symbols on them while they dive. It's a tradition that has continued right up to the present day. There must be some reason for it beyond pure superstition. Interesting. On another note, the armored divers of the Tobashima region possess such exceptional diving skills that in addition to fishing, they also saved people from drowning and fetch objects that had sunk to the seafloor right up until the Meiji era. Well, well, it sounds as if they were true diving professionals. Exactly. In fact, after the Heike were defeated at Dana-no-Ura and were lost beneath the waves. Oh, we're back to the Heike already. I wasn't aware there was a connection. Well, after that fateful battle, who do you think they sent to reclaim the legendary sword Kusanagi no Tsurugi from the seafloor? 2 armored divers. Aha, so the lost and found services were being employed back then, huh? And while they were diving, they came face to face with the vengeful spirits of the drowned Heike. Sirs, please, you're going to give me nightmares. At least that's what's depicted in the ukiyo-e entitled "In the Western Sea, the diving woman encountered the Heike in the depths of the water." Such a deep connection to think the Heike were even once depicted with armor divers that truly are a symbol of the Ise-Shima region. Yes, but the setting for that ukiyo-e is Dan-no-Ura, which isn't anywhere near here. Still, it does go to show that armor divers have held a deep connection to the sea for a very long time. And when we're talking about the Tobashima region, armor divers are always going to be key players. True, if you ask me, they should be brought up before the pirates. Mind you, the Navy had a crucial role to play too. Right, well, as fascinating as all of this has been, sirs, I would say it's high time we return to our primary topic of interest here. Oh, and what would that be? Personally, now that we've visited Ise Shrine, I'm more or less satisfied. Tut. Sirs, you disappoint me. We didn't come here purely to chase legends, did we? Oh, and here I was hoping we could move on to buying souvenirs next. You know perfectly well that the true purpose of my voyage is nothing more or less than a treasure hunt. Right. Of course, I'm sure all this information we've been gathering will come in handy as well. First things first, let's head back to the inn. From there, we can plan our next move. Why are they looking at us, the viewer? Okay, it's over. It's this was quite the chapter, I guess. Lore. Yeah. Well, okay. And we unlocked the follow-up chapter, Treasure Hunt Part 1. I guess there's a Treasure Hunt Part 2 as well then. And this is arriving on Kamishima. This is probably, I don't know, quite a while later. Discovering the Mermaids of Ise Bay, date unknown, August 1908X. Avi and Circe's sightseeing takes them from the Nakabeppo seaside to Ano town, and finally Futamigaura, all destinations with mermaid legends to discover. However, this is where the true objective of Avi's trip begins, a real treasure hunt. Yeah. And to end this super long episode, we still have... Oh yeah! Let's go, man! Mockingbird number 16, Fairy Penguin, Lil Blue. The leader of the Hoodlum band Blues Brutal Beaks, albeit a name only, the son of Aves Academy's board chairman, he turned to delinquency in defiance of his father, refused to accept tit for tat, the very first friend he ever made. Although small in stature and timid by nature, those who have seen him corner tell a different story, describing his berserk behavior as that of a bird possessed. And with that, my friends, I wish you a good night or a good day or a good morning or a good nooning, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye bye!